Yo, what's up, yo? Yo, what's up? Yo, you'll never believe the story I'm about to tell you guys. I'm no joke, no cap. I literally was just on my way right now from getting a hot dog and some blunt wrap rolls. And look at what just happened to me, man. Look at what these haters are doing. Look at this. Yeah, I just got tickets. I just got pulled over by the 5-0, fools. What you think this is? This ain't no fucking grocery receipt. Stuttering up, I'm sorry. Yeah, 2 tickets, no registration. Shit. No insurance. Shit. And let me tell you something. What the cop didn't see is while he was writing all that shit down, I had some DMT. Yeah, and I didn't want to get popped with that shit, so I had to eat that shit. And I don't think it's doing anything. I don't know why they say this DMT shit makes you act all fucking weird and shit. I think this is pretty fucking normal, y'all. But yeah, anyways, can you believe that? Literally just got pulled over 5 minutes ago. Wait, what did I say 5 minutes ago? Or is it 20 minutes? It doesn't matter. I got pulled over. Can somebody just send me a fucking dollar Cash App? $1, man. Oh, wait, I'm supposed to be tripping. Yeah, so anyways, I had to swallow that DMT, man, because I didn't want to get popped with that DMT on me. So, yeah, it's cool, right? I'm not on DMT, am I? It's not a hallucinogenic, is it? What up, y'all? Welcome to another... What is today? Saturday night edition of the NJ Courts Investigation episode. Gonna do something a little bit different. Hang tight. Have a little sippy of your water, your adult beverage if you got one. I'll be right with you. I hope you enjoy the introduction to today's show. All right. Okay, sorry about that. Did I say it was 5 minutes ago or was it 2 days ago that I said I ate that DMT? Oh, it was 5 minutes ago, man. I'm still rolling. I mean, and for some of you that don't know what I'm talking about right now, don't worry about it. It's a long story, okay? Just forget what you saw. Woo! Let me get this fan turned on for a second, you guys. My gosh. That's what I told you. Look at this. This is because of y'all. This is from all them crab dancing, okay? Oh, my gosh. Woo. All right. Let's see. Got some people sending me. Whoa, my gosh. Dang. Somebody just sent me a photo of our little buddy, and my God, he looks pretty. Yeah. Man, Lord, it's been a day for that guy, huh? And we're not going to get into that shit show. Like tonight's thumbnail said, tonight we do an investigation. Tonight is the investigation that we talked about on our walk and talk the other day. Tonight is when we start our investigation into the Toybox serial killer. All right, so let me get that fan on. Let me take a little sippy of my water here. And I want to say hi to everybody, all right? We've got a good, great group of people already in the house. I already see members of the jury. I already see some of the mods. I already see some of the viewers. I already see some of you haters already up there in the nosebleeders. Welcome. All right, let me get that fan kicked on. Oh, man. Woo. Let me shut off all these LED lights I got flashing around here so we can save some battery. Oh, man. Oh, you got to hold it down. Whoopsie. There we go. All right. So, how are you guys tonight? Saturday night. Whew. I'm doing all right. We've got like I said, I wouldn't say it's going to be a long show tonight. We're going to do a little investigation tonight. Going to talk about, this individual. And tomorrow is when we're going to actually take a trip back down to the Elephant Butte TRC area, where a lot of all this stuff stemmed from. I mean, as a matter of fact, I would say probably 99.9% of the crimes that this individual committed were from that area. So that's going to be even a little bit more of a interesting day tomorrow. As one, we are going to we're going to go over to the location of the supposed torture chamber of this serial killer. And before I get just kind of too far into this story, let's say hi to everybody, and then let's start this off on a correct timeline, because a lot of you may not even know who the heck I'm talking about this evening. All right. So let's start off the correct way. Yes, messy me. I hope you guys brought your legal pad and a pen. Hey, hello, friends. What's up, Luna? What's up, effing low key? What up, messy me? Ooh, Alex. I don't know if you're the Alex from Little Skiwi's chat, but hey, we welcome everyone. So welcome. Let's see here. Jean, welcome. Sunflower, welcome. Bell, welcome. Sharpshooters on power scooters, welcome. Dawson, welcome. Madame Star, welcome. Oh, excuse me. Woo. Told you, that crab dancing gets the little belching going on here. All right. Going up the line. We started from the bottom, working our way top. Usually we go top to bottom, so a little bit different tonight. Let's see here. Let's see. Working our way up to the OGs. Now, everybody's an OG. What up, Ken McDonald? Good to see you, my friend. What up, wow? All right, let's see here. I'm working on my way up. What up, Miss Texas? Good to see you. What up, Black Widow channel? What up, Cesar? And yes, you are first. You are the OG of the chat tonight, my friend. And Black Widow channel, very interesting story. I read your post or your comment a little bit earlier. So thank you for coming in the chat tonight. So, pretty much discussion tonight is going to be on the individual that I kind of started talking about. I'll give you a proper introduction, okay? Give me just 1 second. I'm going to pull up chat here on my phone. That way I can see you guys. All right. Got chat right here. Oops, I don't want to hear myself. Let me turn down the volume here. Yeah, it's awesomeness, but horrible horror. I agree with you, Candy Cane. And as a matter of fact, this just kind of leads into a perfect segue right now, which will be my kind of a trigger warning / caution, everybody, this evening. We are going to be discussing some things that are going to have a little bit of graphic not a little bit, quite a bit of graphic content. There is going to be some things that are going to be talked about that you may not, find comfortable. At that point, if you want to take off from chat, by all means. Again, this is all YouTube friendly stuff. When I say this, we're obviously following 2S. A lot of the clips that we're going to be playing are actually coming from news channels. Okay. So obviously if a news station can play it, it can't be that bad. But I'll tell you right now, one of the things that we are going to listen to this evening is going to be one of the, and we're not going to watch the video, obviously, but we are going to listen to the audio of essentially a video that this serial killer would play as he was torturing some of his victims. Okay. And this has been made publicly. This was a piece of evidence that was used in the case against this individual, and it certainly is something that we will listen to and take a look at tonight. So I would probably say that out of all the things that we're going to be looking at is going to be the most, as far as, containing graphic or any type of language that you should be aware about, is going to be when we listen to that audio transcript. Okay. So that is my caution to everybody this evening. Reason this kind of comes close to home is, and I've mentioned this before, and I think I said it on the walk and talk, is because I'm here in Las Cruces, New Mexico. We are literally about 75 miles south of the Elephant Butte area / the TRC area. There's essentially two different towns, but they're within like 5 miles of each other. Okay. So about less than an hour's drive away, hence why we're going to be taking a drive tomorrow to go check out a few of the sites that are related to this individual and some of the crimes they committed. So that's kind of why I was made aware of this individual, and obviously of the crimes they committed. I've obviously heard about this since let's see here, probably mid 2000s, maybe a little bit earlier, when I started going out to the lake a lot, like almost every day during the summertime. And obviously when you're out in the lake, and because this has to do with the lake that we're at in that area, yeah, the story gets told quite a bit. Now, when this story gets told, there's a lot of things that get changed, campfire stories, people drinking, talking. So that's why we're going to kind of take a look at the facts tonight. And hopefully we can put this kind of story together for a lot of you that maybe this is the first time you're hearing about this. Maybe this is something you've already heard about, but, as far as investigating it a little bit further, you've never done that. So hang tight. Like I said, grab yourself a beverage. It's not going to be anything too long, going to kind of just go over, like I said, an introduction of this person first off. And then we're going to watch a few clips, learn a little bit about what they did, and then we can discuss a little bit of stuff. Ultimately, tomorrow is where I think we're going to have a lot of fun, because together as a group, kind of like a field trip, an IRL field trip, and I'll be giving out permission slips later tonight, boys and girls. And I'm just kidding. We'll be heading out to that Elephant Butte area. And yeah, we're going to continue our investigation onto tomorrow in the form of an IRL investigation. So welcome, everybody. Hurrah, Coke. Investigate Hillary Clinton. Landon tells, am I banned? Obviously, you're not. And let's see here. Luna, welcome. I don't know if I said hi to you earlier. Candy Cane, welcome. Sue me, do we need to wear a uniform? No, but good question. All right, so I'm going to pop open my little 7-Up here. We've got back to the 7.5 ounces, okay? Yes, trying to stay healthy. I know as a bad boy on that last road trip, slamming all them energy drinks and stuffing my mouth with all them little oatmeal cookie cream pies. So back to the 7.5 OZs, all right? So cheers. All right. So I guess we'll start with an introduction. This gentleman's name is David Parker Ray, okay? DPR, we could call it short, kind of like that serial killer name, DPR. This is also AKA known as the Toybox serial killer. Where I think that nickname came from is essentially where this individual committed a lot of their crimes, essentially where they tortured a lot of their individuals, was what was considered like a refrigerator box truck, okay? And we're going to see a picture of that here a little bit further into our investigation. And because of some of the instruments that this individual used, which I'll just flat out and say were a lot of sexual toys, I think that's where they kind of put the name Toy Box Killer together. So again, David Parker Ray is the name of this individual. Just to let you know right now, they are deceased. They are dead. As a matter of fact, they passed away while they were incarcerated, sadly, okay, because this individual was sentenced to a life sentence to over 220 years, if I'm not mistaken, okay, for just a couple of the crimes that they were supposedly found guilty of, all right? That's where the mystery of this whole kind of investigation kind of surrounds, is the fact that, one, not all the essentially victims of this individual have ever been found, okay? It has been said that there is over likely 50 victims or more. And this is based, again, on some of the logs, some of the evidence that's been brought up into this investigation. Again, it's never been proved, okay? Bodies have never been found. As a matter of fact, the reason this individual was tried in court was because of the assault on two individuals, one of them being one of the ladies that got away, and is essentially what got this guy in trouble, and is probably what saved a lot of people's lives, all right? And then there was another female victim, and that was a sad story of what happened to her. And essentially, she wasn't even believed by the police when she first told her story, because it was just so out of the box, so horrific. It was kind of like, remember, this is back in, I think, and we're going to confirm the date, I think late 70s, early 80s. So, you know, prior to the internet, prior to security cameras. So, yeah, it was crazy. I mean, literally, this guy was not sentenced for any murders. He was sentenced on the assaults on these women, but based on all the evidence they found, based on his own journals, based on some of the people that helped him, yes, there are assailants, okay? And what's scary about this is they are out of jail now. They are out in the public. Essentially, they witnessed and helped this individual commit some of these crimes. And with their testimony and the journal from this guy, this is where the police have said, hey, there has to be more bodies out there. Now, what's really shitty is this guy died with that secret, okay? He never told anybody anything else other than what he said to the police, and then they locked him up, and that was it. All right? What's up, Kimberly? And welcome. What's up, Risa? What up, Justin T? Welcome to everybody coming on in. Just kind of giving you a brief introduction into the into our kind of a new chapter that we're doing or starting here at the NJ Courts TV channel, which is kind of a little investigation into a serial killer. It's nothing to do with YouTube right now. It's not an individual that's an IRL, YouTuber that's gotten himself in trouble. Just something to change it up a bit, right? Something a little bit different. As a matter of fact, something that's going to involve a hands-on IRL field trip. Yes, that'll be tomorrow. But let's get going with this, right? So, excuse me. I love Sprite. Sorry. So, kind of give you a brief introduction. Let's see here. Let me just kind of queue up a really good article here. I'm going to read this through with everybody, and you guys can follow along. I like this article. Obviously, there's a lot of articles on this individual. There's some news stories on this individual. We're going to play a couple of clips from that. But I found this article as is to kind of hit on a lot of points that were really important and gave you a lot of information on this individual in just one article. So that's why out of all the articles that I found, this one I picked specifically just because it covers a lot of information in a short article. So let me just get that queued up here, and we are going to read along. Excuse me. Oh, and because we actually had, let me just do this really quick, because I know we actually had 2 dono goals that we were working on. We actually had one that we've almost hit, and then we had another dono goal that was started by Dawson just the other day on our walk and talk, which was for a metal detector. So let me get those dono goals updated really quick, because I know a lot of people have been asking about where are we at. And the other one, of course, which many of you know, was for the drone, which, if I'm not mistaken, we actually have it up here. I think we were just literally right at hitting that one here. Let me see. Yeah, we're at 265 with 350 raised for the drone. And then let me go ahead and update this with the new dono goal that was started. And let's see here. Edit. And we've got $10. Thank you, Dawson, for starting that dono goal for the metal detector. And we're going to say, I think I found one for $60, 50 or 60 at Harbor Freight. We don't need anything too fancy, okay? $50 to $60. And we're at 10 of that $50 to $60 raised, and $265 or $350 raised for the drone camera. So I want to say, and that was started by Super Roofers. So thank you so much for everybody that started those dono goals. And I want to say thank you to all the supporters of those dono goals and everybody else that might not necessarily support or donate that dono goal, but they donate to everything else that the channel does. All right. So I appreciate that. And without your support, like I said, we don't have any of these court coverage trips. We don't have a lot of the court coverage stuff because sometimes it does cost money to pull some of the paperwork. Sometimes it's not free to do searches, okay? So I appreciate your guys' support. All right. So we've got, I got to hit scroll. So save, show. There we go. All right. Now we can get this show started, right? E-bagging has commenced. All right. Let's jump back to the comments here. All right. So let's get going. Present, share screen, shall we? And this is going to be this one here. All right. So this comes from the Crime Wire, okay, which is an online, I guess, kind of, there's a word for these. Now remember here, but pretty much they do just all online news. Essentially, they don't have an actual publication like a physical paper. So an online newspaper. There we go. So this is called the Crime Wire. Okay. Let's see here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to the screen and I'm going to start reading it. I'm going to jump back because remember, I like to test this out because sometimes for whatever reason, you guys can't hear me whenever I jump out of the main screen. So I'm going to jump out of it. I'm going to jump back in really quick. Just do a little test reading just to make sure you guys can hear me. Okay, here we go. All right. So this is from the Crime Wire. Test reading. The more pain that I showed, the more I hurt, the more he got off, Jaramillo said. All right. Did you guys hear that test reading? I'll wait for confirmation in the chat. All right, cool. Thank you, guys. And thank you. I appreciate those that hit me up right now on the Instagram. All right, here we go. So let me start the reading. Like I said, I'm going to read through this whole article. You can read on with me. And then as soon as we get done with this, we're going to jump over to an actual news clip, okay? This article is very interesting because, and without, revealing some of what I'm going to read to you, it hits on a part of this story that when I was watching other articles or other broadcasts from some news stations, they didn't really discuss any of this. And this is where it gets kind of like what I say down the rabbit hole, okay? This is where it kind of gets a little bit interesting because this is when you start seeing some of these other people that were essentially involved with this serial killer come into play, okay? And it's very important that you're aware of who these people are because we're going to be discussing them here in a bit. And I want to welcome you guys in the chat to also carry on your discussion, all right? That's kind of why I wanted to have this kind of as a all of us involved type of investigation. So I did what I would call a halfway investigation into this because I wanted to also kind of get into this with you guys, all right? And learn while I'm learning with you all. Versus, if I was going to do a full investigation into this and do like a normal presentation, like a broadcast, I would have probably spent multiple days on this 24/7, had, pages of notes and, done this in a different style. So that's where, like I said, we're trying something a little bit different here. So I appreciate your guys' patience, especially if this may be some stuff you already read on your own. Okay. All right, here we go. So let's start from the top here. And this is called the escape. Oh, wait, sorry. Let me start all the way from the top. Okay. Let me just make sure this looks good on your end. Yep, there we go. All right, here we go. So again, this is labeled or titled David Parker Ray, the Toybox Killer and His Accomplices. There we go. That's the word I was trying to get. Accomplices. The Toybox Killer. Like any state, New Mexico experiences its share of violence and murder every year. Each incident a tragedy in its own right. However, the state's history is darkened by one particularly horrifying chapter, David Parker Ray, known as the Toybox Killer. His nickname derived from the large toy box, a trailer outfitted with various implements designed for sexual torture in which he abducted women and held them as sex slaves. While typical murder cases involve shocking acts of violence, Ray's crimes extended well beyond that into the realm of the unimaginably macabre. And I probably said that incorrectly, and I apologize. Macabre. For years, he engaged in disturbing acts of sexual torture and suspected murder. The abductions, extreme cruelty, and murders committed by Ray and his accomplices, and this is something you may want to write down, Cynthia Cindy Hendy, and Ray's daughter, Glenda, also known as Jessie Ray, during the 1990s, shocked the state and the nation, exposing a level of brutal inhumanity rarely encountered even in the grim world of violent crime. Ray claimed to have abducted about 40 victims from several states, though authorities believe the number is likely higher. All right. So now we're going to discuss a little bit about his childhood. Born in New Mexico in 1939, Ray lived in poverty with his younger sister, Peggy Pearl Ray, under the stern and watchful eyes of their maternal grandparents, Russell and Dolly Parker. They lived on a quaint ranch seemingly lost in the vastness of the high desert where discipline was abundant. Their father, a violent alcoholic, would sporadically breeze into his son's life, bearing not gifts of affection, but rather sinister offerings, magazines emblazoned with the haunting images of sodomistic pornography. Ray's mother, Nettie Opal Jensen, was supposedly part of his life, but specific details about her circumstances during Ray's childhood are somewhat vague in available documents. What is known, however, is that David's formative years were turbulent. He was an introvert in high school, so like vultures circling their prey, his peers swooped down upon his shyness with taunts and jeers. He sought refuge in alcohol and narcotics. This crucible molded the early chapters of Ray's life, chapters that would later unfold into a tale of unimaginable darkness. All right, now we're going to jump into more about the victims. David Parker Ray's victims. As an adult, Ray lived in Elephant Butte, New Mexico, a small town in the central part of the state, about 150 miles south of Albuquerque and just north of Truth or Consequences. The area is mainly rural and is named after an island in Elephant Butte Reservoir, a large body of water created by a dam on the Rio Grande. Ray's infamous Toybox was located in a trailer near his residence in Elephant Butte. So, this is where we kind of go into tomorrow's IRL investigation. Tomorrow, we will be heading to Elephant Butte. We've already been there, so if you've caught some of the lake streams, you've seen somewhat of Elephant Butte. Where I'm going to take you specifically is going to be over to where they call the Elephant Island, so you can see exactly where they're talking about here in this paragraph. Also, we're going to be headed over to the address of where David Parker Ray's essentially torture chamber was located at. This supposedly was a residence that was owned essentially by the state. It was kind of like he essentially worked for the park, okay? Essentially, that is a state park, and he worked there, and they gave him essentially my word essentially, I'm always using that. They gave him housing. Okay. At those times, they had housing for some of the volunteers, some of the workers, and that is where he resided in. And outside of his house is where he had this box trailer that was set up as his torture chamber. All right. So getting into the paragraph. Okay. We just finished reading that about the location of a lot of his crimes. Okay, here we go. Ray was believed to have started his criminal activities around the 1950s. It is unknown how many women and girls David Parker Ray abducted and raped over the decades because many of them were drugged. One of his specialties, said Frank Fisher of the FBI, was to give these women drugs that would cause amnesia. But the world ultimately got a shocking look inside at Ray's Toybox torture chamber. One of the more chilling aspects of Ray's methodology was using a pre-recorded audio tape, which he would play for his victims after they woke up from being drugged. The tape, a cold and clinical rundown of what they were about to experience, was designed to instill maximum fear in his victims. And we are going to be listening to that tape. So again, just FYI, just give you a trigger warning once we get to that tape. Okay, so we're going to now read about one of the escapes of his victims, okay? This is the Cynthia V. Hale Jaramillo's daring escape. Ray and Cindy Hendy were eventually arrested when one of their victims, Cynthia V. Hale Jaramillo, miraculously escaped the Toybox after 3 days of captivity. Jaramillo started selling drugs and sex on the streets of Albuquerque at the age of only 13. As a young woman, she was lured to Ray's Toybox trailer and held captive. She later recounted her terrifying ordeal, which you can view in the video above, recalling how Ray and Hendy handcuffed her and then electrocuted her with a cattle prod. And let's take a, well, we can listen to this. Let's see if it'll cue it up here. I think this was
where Cynthia spent hours being
dubbed.
It is the most twisted.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and play this video here. And this was one of them that I had already queued up, so it kind of just segued perfectly into the video. So this is going to be Miss Jaramillo. This is the survivor that we just read the paragraph about. Once we get done playing this clip, then we'll resume with the rest of that story, okay?
Twisted crime story in New Mexico. The nightmarish details right out of a Hollywood script.
A sex torture chamber dubbed Satan's Den. One woman survived it all, and tonight she shares details she's never revealed. KRQE News 13's anchor Crystal Gutierrez shares her story of survival.
We have this indelible image in our minds, if we're from New Mexico, of the woman running through the desert naked with the dog collar on.
You know, a lot of people would say, you're not only a survivor, you saved other women.
No, I've never looked at it like that. I just look at it as I saved myself.
It's a story of survival like you've never heard before.
David Parker Ray's travel trailer.
I escaped the David Parker Ray incident.
It's led Cynthia Jaramillo and Christine Barber to start helping women working the street, just as Cynthia once did. Cynthia's story starts here on Central Avenue, a historic highway filled with crime in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's where she met the Toybox killer.
Mr. Ray, did you kidnap that young woman against her will? Did you take her against her will?
After a childhood of abuse and molestation, Cynthia found herself on the streets in Albuquerque, first selling drugs, then selling her body.
Probably about 13. About 13, I was like, I didn't have nothing, so I had to figure out how to survive.
This born survivor was about to have her survival skills tested to the limits.
That day, I don't know what was going through my head that day. I broke all my rules right there.
Rule number 1, don't get in RVs.
When we get to the back of the RV, he pulls out a badge and throws a handcuff on one of my wrists. I'm like, wait, no, this ain't right. You ain't a cop.
The man with the handcuffs was David Parker Ray, but as Cynthia reached for the door, something stopped her dead in her tracks.
I was like, literally my fingertips were touching the door when he yelled, Cindy.
Cindy is Cynthia's nickname.
That freaked me out because I didn't give him my name. I had given him another name.
But Ray was talking to the woman who would later be charged as his accomplice, Cindy Hendy.
Well, a girl came out from behind a curtain in there in the RV, and she shocked me with the cattle prod.
Cynthia remembers being dragged to the back of the RV. Then Ray handcuffed her to a cabinet.
They both got in the front of the RV and they started driving off.
And while the wheels of the RV were turning, the wheels in her mind were too. She needed to escape.
I unscrewed the cabinet where I was handcuffed to, and I remember like getting up on my feet and like kind of like crouching down. And I was like, as soon as the RV stops slow enough, I'm gonna hit the door.
So she waited, each second seeming longer than the next. And then,
but I don't know why he had to slam on his brakes, but it made me tumble. I was loose. My hands were behind my back, but I was loose.
Cindy Hendy is first to notice Cynthia is free.
Well, she came to the back with the gun, and then he pulled over, and then he came to the back.
Then everything went black. Cynthia would wake up to the sound of Ray's voice on a recorded cassette tape.
Okay, we both know what you've been brought here for. A lot of and your wrists and ankles are chained, and you're gagged because you're not going to like the way I do it. You're going to be kept here, naked and chained down. I'm going to use you for a sex slave.
The FBI says Ray recorded that audio tape in 1993. Cynthia was abducted in 1999. More than 22 years later, hearing his voice.
I'm sure that it goes without saying that you will not be given any opportunity to escape.
Still takes her back to that night.
If I thought that you knew enough to cause serious problems, you would not be turned loose. You would simply disappear.
What haunts her even more is knowing she likely was not the first person to hear it.
Yeah, the rest of it basically said what was going to happen to you, like how he was going to torture you. Talked about the toy box.
The toy box, as Ray called it, was parked behind his home near Elephant Butte. Aerial video shows it hiding in plain sight. Inside, a sex torture chamber with chains, whips, and pulleys. In the center of that room, a gynecological chair where she suffered electric shocks.
The more pain that I showed, the more I hurt, the more he got off.
Strapped to the chair is where Cynthia spent hours being tortured. The rest of the time, a dog collar around her neck kept her chained to a pole by a bed. A padlock made sure she couldn't escape. But as Ray continued his twisted game for pleasure,
so I kind of just stopped responding to it, and I just took it. It was hard, but I took it.
Cynthia started playing her game of survival by studying her surroundings.
When they would take me from one room to another or take me to a different spot, I'd see the rules in it. One of them was don't trust a chained captive.
She knew the only way she would walk out alive was to escape. After 3 days of torture, she got her chance.
And I realized she had left the keys on the coffee table.
Cindy Hendy got a phone call and would make two crucial mistakes. First, she left Cynthia alone.
She got real excited. She went to the back.
Second, she left keys to that padlock in plain sight.
I put my feet up and I got under the fence and I pulled the table towards me. And then I went and I got the keys.
Cynthia was on the second key when Cindy runs back in.
She got that lamp and she started beating me with it. The lock came loose and I pulled it. I picked up the phone and the ice pick and I dialed 911 and I stabbed her. When she grabbed her head, I just jumped. I dropped the phone and I jumped from the bed to the living room floor and just bolted out the door.
For the first time in days, Cynthia is outside and free. Her first thought, run.
I just ran up the road and a car was passing me and I was banging on. She rolled up her window and she left it cracked and I was begging her for help.
By this time, Cynthia was covered in blood, barefoot and naked. The terrifying image is too much for the stranger who drives off.
And she locked her door on me.
In the distance, Cynthia sees a trailer with lights still on.
And I just ran in their door. I didn't even knock.
What did you see when you walked in?
An elderly lady washing dishes. She was really calm and she kept me calm. And then her husband came in and I heard noise and he sees me there naked, bloody, and his eyes, he froze in the doorway.
The woman calls 911. Her husband helps the stranger standing in their living room covered in blood.
She had her husband go get me a robe and cover me. The man kept assuring me that he was not going to let him come and get me. And I'm like, he has a gun. He'll come in here and get me.
Authorities caught Ray and Cindy Hendy out looking for Cynthia. The next time Cynthia would see him was in court when Ray was convicted. Cindy was also convicted and served nearly 20 years before being released in 2019.
Do I forgive her? Yeah, I forgive her. I think there was a part of her that was David Parker Ray's a victim too.
Ray was sentenced to more than 223 years for sexually torturing 2 women, one being Cynthia. He claimed to have abducted 40 women from across the U.S. Since no bodies were ever found, he was never charged, and he never will be. Ray died in prison in 2002 by heart attack. Cynthia now pays it forward with her nonprofit Street Safe New Mexico. She and her partner Christine pay for hotel rooms for women on the street to shower and sleep. They also hand out essentials, including clothes, and testify in court when a woman gets raped by a John, making sure the survivor gets the last word.
I'm not his victim. I was never his victim. I wish he could have known that.
Crystal Gutierrez, KRQE News 13.
As the FBI still searches for more of Ray's victims, Cynthia is on a mission to protect women from becoming one. Tomorrow, we dive into her journey of helping and healing with a nonprofit.
All right. Man, that was a very just chilling and horrifying tale that lady told. And what's crazy is, you're just trying to kind of picture it, but it sounds literally like you're watching a horror movie, but to just imagine that individual is literally living that moment at that time, looking at all these crazy things hanging around her, being shocked with a cattle prod. I mean, that's insane. And like they said, had she not escaped, how many more victims could there have been had he not been arrested at that time? That is just an insane story. And I mean, kudos to that lady. She is a true survivor. All right, so let's finish up this article that we started. And then we'll jump into, I probably want to jump into the audio transcript. Just since it was brought up here in this article. And what I mean by that is when Ms. Jaramillo is discussing about there's a video, or excuse me, I think it was an actual videotape, but we're obviously going to just listen to the audio. But there's a chilling video that this guy plays, the Toybox killer plays, sent to all his victims prior to him torturing them, and obviously to the ones that were murdered prior to them being killed. So that is going to be one of the audio transcripts that we'll be listening to, but we'll do that as soon as we're done finishing up this article here. And it is going to go into the other victim of this individual, David Parker Ray. Absolutely super brave. That lady, that is some hardcore shit. When she was just describing it, I just can imagine just the man. It's just, you really can't. Damn, that's nuts. Yeah, thank God, Ken, because like I said, Lord knows how many more victims there would have been had that lady not escaped. And what's scary is, didn't you see? They caught those individuals looking for her. All right, so they weren't just done. They were actively looking to hunt her back down, and they were probably going to murder her as soon as they found her. So she ran and escaped for her life. And I mean, did you see that list? That was not a fake or edited list. That to-do list that you guys saw in the video, that was an actual real list. That was a piece of evidence. Okay, so let's continue the article here. All right, so we'll just start kind of from the beginning of the daring escape here. So Ray and Cindy Hendy were eventually arrested when one of their victims, Cynthia Vigil Jaramillo, miraculously escaped the toy box after 3 days of captivity. Jaramillo started selling drugs and sex on the streets of Albuquerque at the age of only 13. As a young woman, she was lured into Ray's toy box trailer and held captive. She later recounted her terrifying ordeal, recalling how Ray and Hendy handcuffed her and then electrocuted her with a cattle prod. As the couple drove the trailer out to a remote area, Jaramillo unscrewed the cabinet to which she was handcuffed and waited for the RV to slow down. But just when she was about to make a run for it, Ray hit the brakes and she tumbled to the floor. Hendy shocked her with the cattle prod again, rendering her unconscious. When Jaramillo woke up, she heard Ray's voice on the tape telling her in graphic detail what would happen to her as his sex slave. For the next few days, Jaramillo was tortured and raped. The more pain that I showed, the more I hurt, the more he got off, Jaramillo said. The escape. But as Ray and Hendy took her from room to room, she studied her surroundings. After 3 days of torture, she finally got her chance to escape. Hendy left her alone and left the keys to the padlock on the coffee table. As Jaramillo tried to unlock herself, Hendy returned and began beating her. But Jaramillo picked up two crucial objects, a phone and an ice pick. With one, she dialed 911. With the other, she stabbed her captor. Then she bolted naked and covered in blood down the road. The first car that drove by her stopped, but the woman driving wouldn't let her inside. Jaramillo ran to a nearby trailer and received help from an elderly couple whom she later called her guardian angels. So Henry asked, is there an interrogation of Glenda anywhere? That's a good question. We're going to take a look at a few of the other clips I have, Henry, and let's see if that comes up or if that may give us a lead into that. And I'm going to write that down because that is definitely something I'd like to look into. Hey, sweet and sassy, good to see you. Oh, absolutely, Luna. Okay. So we're going to read a little bit about, this is called Ray's Journals. Ray meticulously documented his murderous acts in diaries, noting details like the time and place of the kidnappings. Law enforcement speculated that the actual victim count could be significantly higher. However, Ray's journals offered no insights into the events following his brutal activities, leaving in an unfortunate gap in understanding his victims' fates. Now, you got to remember, this gentleman, I hate using that word gentleman, this individual lived right smack next to a lake, the largest lake in the state of New Mexico. And I'm going to take you on a little tour tomorrow so you can get an idea of how big this lake is in the surrounding area. Especially when we go visit the area where he lived at, that'll give you a really good idea as far as how close he was to the actual lake. And I'm going to just guess. Again, this is just all speculation at this point. But I have a feeling that a lot of those victims were probably dropped into that lake. I mean, you see how extensive and how meticulous this guy is about what he's doing with the setup, all the tools, the cameras. I'm sure he probably thought very long and hard how he was going to dispose of his victims' bodies. And I'm sure he probably figured the best way would probably be the large body of water that's right next to him. And see, I'll tell you something. About probably 5 to 10 years ago, the water level at that lake went so very, very low. I mean, it was disgustingly low. And at that time, there was, I don't know if the investigation, which agency did it, but if I'm not mistaken, I do remember there was a report that one of the agencies, whether it was the state police or the local police or just a search and rescue agency, actually did go out there to do a little bit of a probe for any type of victims, not necessarily that they were from this individual, but I mean, the chances of it being from that individual was very likely, excuse me. But I don't think they found anything. They did not find any bodies from that probe. But again, just very interesting. We're going to look at that tomorrow so you can get a good idea of, what was next essentially to this person's house. And I mean, if you're talking 40 to 50 victims, and the fact that they haven't found any, it's just shocking. It really is. Yeah, and there you go, Candy Cane. That was it. A state job with Wildlife Service. So yeah, he probably was aware of a lot of other remote areas other than just, being right next to the lake, the more obvious spot to, bury a body. So yeah, I'm sure. And then remember, this is also turned into a multi-state investigation, which that's something else we can look into, because all we're really just kind of, focusing on is what happened here in the state of New Mexico, which is obviously where he committed, all of his crimes, or most of them, and where obviously he was tried here in the state of New Mexico for the assaults that he did on the 2 women, that one of them who we already discussed, the one that escaped, okay, which was Miss Jaramillo. So, who's to not say that there's other victims that are going to be buried in other states as well? And sadly, like we heard, this individual did take those secrets to him to their death. Okay, so let's continue on here. Investigating the Toybox case. After police responded to Jaramillo's calls, they apprehended Ray and Hendy. The 2 sadistic rapists desperately tried to paint a picture of innocence, alleging that Jaramillo was entangled in the throes of heroin addiction and insisting their actions were merely attempts to wean her off the devastating drug. However, the walls of deception they attempted to construct swiftly crumbled under the scrutiny of law enforcement. As authorities delved deeper into the foreboding trailer, they uncovered a chilling collection of torture paraphernalia that starkly contrasted the couple's assertions. The evidence they gathered corroborated Jaramillo's harrowing account and confirmed the sadistic reality of her ordeal. The haunting audio tape was just the beginning, a brutal testament to Ray's intentions. The investigators unearthed an extensive collection of torture apparatus, which included a gruesome assortment of pulleys, whips, and a host of sexually perverse contraptions, revealing the true extent of the horrors that had taken place within the walls of that trailer. So there's a picture of the trailer right there. Let me make sure you guys can see. Okay. And I'm going to show you a few more pictures that come up here on this article. I have no clue what that was used for, nor do I want to know. That was just one part of that inside of the trailer. And there's a few other pictures that we will take a look at that'll show you a little bit more complete interior of how the trailer looked. It says David Parker Ray's Toybox trailer was equipped with thousands of dollars worth of torture paraphernalia, such as whips, chains, pulleys, straps, clamps, leg spreader bars, and surgical tools. All right, so here goes the next paragraph. This is going to be Cindy Hendy, the Toybox killer's girlfriend. Hendy played a significant role in his horrifying crimes. They met in 1997, and not long after, she became involved in his criminal activities. The extent of her participation varies according to different sources, but it's clear she was deeply complicit in the sexual torture and potential murders committed by Ray. During the trial, she testified against Ray, revealing the harrowing details of their crimes. Hendy was convicted of numerous charges, including kidnapping and criminal sexual penetration. She was sentenced to 36 years in prison. As part of her plea bargain, she agreed to testify against Ray. In 2019, after serving approximately 2/3 of her sentence, Hendy was granted parole and release from prison, which caused controversy considering the severity of her crimes. In March of 2022, she was living in Hamilton, Montana. Interestingly, Cynthia Jaramillo later claimed to have forgiven Cindy Hendy, and we heard that in the news clip that we heard earlier. All right, what I think we're going to do is take a little break from reading on this article. There's a lot more interesting information that's going to be coming up on here. What I like to do is kind of segue into the audio tape, being that it was discussed already quite a bit. So this is going to be the audio transcript of the tape that the victims, including Ms. Jaramillo, testified that was played prior to her being tortured. Let me just cue that up. Now, I will tell you, it does, again, this is going to be played from a YouTube clip. So it is going to obviously follow the TOS guidelines, but I will give you any, trigger warning now. There's going to be explicit language and some things said in there. So, trigger warning. All right, I got it queued up. So I'm going to be playing it here within the next 30 seconds, okay?
Hello there, bitch. Are you comfortable right now? I doubt it. Wrists and ankles chained, gagged, probably blindfolded. You are disoriented and scared too, I would imagine. Perfectly normal under the circumstances. For a little while, at least, you need to get your shit together and listen to this tape. It is very relevant to your situation. I'm going to tell you, in detail, why you have been kidnapped, what's going to happen to you, and how long you'll be here. I don't know the details of your capture because this tape is being created July 23rd, 1993, as a general advisory tape for future female captives. The information I'm going to give you is based on my experience dealing with captives over a period of several years. If, at a future date, there are any major changes in our procedures, the tape will be upgraded. Now, you are obviously here against your will. Totally helpless. Don't know where you're at. Don't know what's going to happen to you. You're very scared or very pissed off. I'm sure that you've already tried to get your wrists and ankles loose. No, you can't. Now you're just waiting to see what's going to happen next. You probably think you're going to be raped, and you're fucking sure right about that. Our primary interest is in what you've got between your legs. You'll be raped, thoroughly and repeatedly, in every hole you've got. Because, basically, you've been snatched and brought here for us to train and use as a sex slave. Sound kind of far out? I suppose it is to the uninitiated, but we do it all the time. It's going to take a lot of adjustment on your part, and you're not going to like it a fucking bit. But I don't give a big rat's ass about that. It's not like you're going to have any choice about the matter. You've been taken by force, and you're going to be kept and used by force. What all this amounts to is that you're going to be kept naked and chained up like an animal to be used and abused anytime we want to, any way that we want to. And you might as well start getting used to it, because you're going to be kept here and used until such time as we get tired of fucking around with you. And we will, eventually, in a month or 2, maybe 3. It's no big deal. My lady friend and I have been keeping sex slaves for years. We both have kinky hang-ups involving rape, dungeon games, etc. We found that it is extremely convenient to keep 1 or 2 female captives available constantly to satisfy our particular needs. We are very selective when we snatch a girl to use for these purposes. It goes without saying that you have a fine body, and you're probably young, maybe very young, because for our purposes, we prefer to snatch girls in the early to mid-teens, sexually developed, but still small-bodied, scared shitless, easy to handle, easy to train, and they usually have tight little pussies and assholes.
All right, I'm done.
They make perfect slaves.
All right, you get the gist of it. I'm not going to play that shit anymore. It's disgusting. But I mean, imagine being, essentially you've been kidnapped, you've been drugged, you're waking up in a room. You saw the picture right there that guy had, or that was edited, okay? So that's showing exactly how the inside, that was another view of the inside of that trailer, okay? That's a gynecology table set up. And those are electric shocking devices set up on that table. So imagine you're strapped to something like that. You're waking up, drugged up, looking at all this shit. And that's the videotape that you're listening to on a, 1990s little TV, box TV, playing this ugly piece of shit's, mugshot right there talking to you like that. Like I said, it's horrific crimes. I mean, it's straight out of like a horror movie, but this was true. That's what's disgusting about this. And what's really sad and what pisses me off is that this piece of shit, didn't really serve any justice, okay? Because he died 2 years into his sentence. I hope he's serving it in hell right now, but they should have executed that guy, man. Straight up. Anyways, let's continue on with that article. And again, I apologize about, some of the language in there. That's the first time I've listened to that. So again, we're in this together. But again, if you want to listen to the rest of that, I'll tell you that is about a 45, 50-minute audio tape. Just playing about 3 minutes of it was enough for me. So if, you want to listen to the rest of it, and again, I'm not saying anything against that. It's just if that's enough for me. But if you're curious to learn more about what is said in that tape, you can find that on YouTube. There's several versions of that. That one that we were listening to is the 50-minute version. I think it's going to be the one, if you actually search for it, it's at the very top. It's the one that has the most views on it. So let's continue with our article here. Okay. Let's see here. Let me share the screen. This is where it gets really interesting, okay? So pay close attention, because this is where we're going to introduce another assailant into this essentially person that assisted David Parker Ray in his crimes. In addition to his girlfriend, Cindy Hendy, not Cindy, yes, Cindy Hendy. Sorry, I'm getting confused with Miss Jaramillo, the victim's first name. So Cindy Hendy, which was his girlfriend, that was one assailant. There's now a second one. This is the one we're going to be discussing now. This is now going into the next part of this article that we are reading. All right, so we've got that queued up. Excellent. All right. So Glenda Jean or Jessie Ray, Ray's daughter. Ray's daughter, Glenda Jean, or otherwise known as Jessie Ray, was also implicated in her father's horrific crimes, accused of actively participating in the abductions and tortures that took place in Ray's Toybox. She was arrested by the FBI and initially charged with 12 criminal counts, including kidnapping and criminal sexual penetration. David Parker Ray ultimately pled guilty to the myriad of charges against him to spare his daughter a lengthy sentence. As a result of his deal with prosecutors, his daughter, Glenda Ray, was given a 2.5-year sentence with 5 years probation for her role in abducting Garrett. Her whereabouts today are unknown. All right, there's one part here that I want to read. All right. So that pretty much finishes that article. It goes a little bit into discussing the program now that Ms. Jaramillo runs. And you're more than welcome to finish, reading that article. That, again, is going to be found under the Crime Wire. Just Google search the Crime Wire, David Parker Ray. The one article that I want to find here, so just excuse me for a minute. I thought I had it queued up. This article is going to discuss one of the crimes that was committed specifically with David and his daughter. That's where she was introduced a little bit better, and a little bit more details come out as far as her role in this article. So that's the article that I want to queue up, and we're going to read a little bit more about his daughter and what role she took part in with these, essentially committing these crimes. Yeah, messy me, free and roaming. So two of the assailants, Cindy Hendy, she was released in 2019. And they said she's supposedly in Montana. And then we've got the daughter, Jessie Ray, whereabouts unknown. She only served 2.5 years. And see, that's the thing in this article. As soon as I find it, it speculates a little bit as far as, how much more did she actually know? And was the 2.5 years fair? This girl could have had a lot more participation, may have even participated in murdering some of these victims, and realistically just served 2.5 years because her father essentially, absorbed the majority of what she was supposed to be sentenced, I guess, in the plea deal. It's insane. Okay, so page 2 of notes. Me too. Except I write kind of sloppy and big, so. All right, let me just queue up that article really quick, y'all. If you want to go use the restroom, go grab another brewski, another soda pop, you might as well do that right now. Just take me a minute or two, then we will continue on. Okay. All right. I found it. I'll give you guys another minute for those that actually went to go take a quick break. But so, Gene, supposedly there is a documentary or movie that kind of got made, but I don't think it was ever like considered like, what do they call that? Like they got like an A star, B star. I don't think it was ever like an A star rated movie or anything like, big. But I'm surprised that they have not made like a blockbuster style movie out of this. Because I mean, it literally, you just reading this, you think this is just just all make believe. Just how horrific this sounds in the stories. That's what's insane about this is not make believe. This is not a movie script. This is all real, and it's fucking nuts. Excuse my language. Yes, there you go, Dawson. Thank you. A documentary, not a movie. I apologize. Was that movie girl in the box about him? Was that movie girl? Oh, are you talking about on the website? Let's see here. Actually, I'm gonna have to go back to that after I show this big ups and I can check. I think, is that what you're referring to? Was on that article, was the one of the little boxes you can click? Because if so, yes, that's where the actual, you could click there to link. That was where the link was for that documentary. Ocean's Daughter. As a matter of fact, while we're waiting, hold on. I'll get that link for you guys. Give me a second. Let's get that pulled up for you guys. Hold on. Oops. Okay, let me show it to you here, and then I'm going to put the link up. I found it. All right, here it is. I'm going to read it for you, and then I'll post the link up. So, Toybox Killer documentary. In 2008, a British production released The Sex Chamber, a 45-minute documentary. A 45-minute documentary piece about the case of the Toybox Killer, directed by Nick Guttridge. Let's see here. You can watch the entire documentary in the video link below. So let me get that link for you guys. Yeah, you're welcome. Here comes the link. All right, so there is the link. I put it on the chat, and I've also pinned it up here. And Dawson says, I survived a serial killer on Hulu. You can watch as well about it. Thank you, Dawson, and that is correct. I think I did see something about that said there's also an episode on that. That is correct. So I survived a serial killer on Hulu, and there is an episode regarding the Toybox Killer. All right. So I'm going to jump back over to the other article I found, and this one is going to go a little bit into his daughter, and as far as, you know, her being an accomplice, and as far as what role she may have had in some of these tortures and possibly these murders and victims. What up, Stokes? Hey, and you're welcome, Ocean's daughter. All right, so let me get that queued up here. There we go. And so I'm going to just start from the top. It is going to kind of give you a little bit of some information that we've kind of already discussed or went over. But again, it's just about a paragraph's worth. And then the rest is going to be all new information that for like some of y'all, you may have not even have read about when you were doing your own little investigation. For some of you, this may be something you already read about. For some of us, we're going to be reading this together for the first time. I've actually read this, so not for me, but for some of you, it may be the first time. So just be patient with me on the first paragraph, and then again, I'll jump into the rest of the article, which is pretty much going to go over a little bit more in depth about his daughter, Glenda. So this is labeled, or excuse me, titled, not labeled. And this is coming from the Grunge, or Grunge, again, another online newspaper, I guess I'd call it. And it's titled, What Happened to the Toybox Killer's Daughter, Glenda? Again, trigger warning. This article does have some things that include sexual assault and murder. On a March day in 1999, a 22-year-old Cynthia Jaramillo was frantically pounding on the door of a New Mexico mobile home, begging for help. Clad in only a dog collar and a chain, she had just made a daring daylight escape from a home where she had been captive for the last 3 days. In that period, she was beaten, sexually assaulted, and mercilessly taunted about her impending death. When police arrived to assist the frantic woman, they heard her tale of terror. She had been abducted by a man named David Parker Ray, who had cuffed her while posing as a police officer. She was taken to the home that Ray shared with his girlfriend and accomplice, Cynthia Handy, where Jaramillo was brutalized before managing to flee. Ray would become known as the Toybox Killer. When investigators searched his property, they uncovered various torture devices consistent with Jaramillo's statements and a disturbing tape Ray played for victims. They also discovered a box truck that Ray had converted into a torture chamber. All That's Interesting reveals that this makeshift dungeon contained a gynecologist-type table used for laying out his prey. There was also a variety of whips, chains, saws, and other devices meant to inflict suffering alongside a sizable collection of sex toys. Police estimated that Ray had murdered dozens of women over the years with help from Handy, and on at least one occasion, his daughter. And this paragraph or section is titled, Ray's Daughter Brought Him at Least One Victim. All right, here we go. One night in 1996, Kelly Garrett had a fight with her husband. Rather than stay home, she went out playing pool at a local bar with her friend Glenda Jean, also known as Jessie, or Glenda Jean Ray. What Garrett didn't realize at the time was that Jessie had an ulterior motive. Jessie Ray was the daughter of David Parker Ray and was about to offer up her friend to her father's sadistic desires. It's believed that Jessie dosed Garrett's beer with a tranquilizer. Once she was subdued, Garrett was led back to Jessie's father's trailer. She was held captive for 2 days. Ray used a cocktail of drugs to keep Garrett disoriented. When Ray released Garrett, he slit her throat and left her by the side of the road. Amazingly, she survived. Initially, neither the police nor her husband believed her. Her husband thought that Kelly had gone on a drinking binge and cheated on him, and he soon filed for divorce. Her memory of the previous days had been severely damaged by Ray's drug cocktail, so she never went to the police. Next paragraph. After Ray's arrest for the torture and assault of Cynthia Jaramillo, police discovered evidence that he had other victims. Among that evidence was a videotape documenting the assault of a woman police could not identify. After releasing stills of the video to the public, Garrett was recognized as a victim of the Toybox killer. From interviews with Cynthia Hendy and the contents of David Parker Ray's journals, police surmised that Ray had upwards of 50 victims, but without any bodies or a confession, they couldn't charge him with murder. However, they did have more than enough evidence to send Ray away for the rest of his life. Testimony from Cynthia Jaramillo and Kelly Garrett was enough to earn him 223 years behind bars. He died from a heart attack less than a year later. Hendy was sentenced to 36 years and was released in 2019 after serving 20 years. All right, so if you're writing some notes down, those are some I'm going to write down myself. So one was he was sentenced to 223 years. But remember, that was just on the testimonies based on Cynthia and Kelly. Those were the two victims that they based that sentence on. And his girlfriend, Glenda Hendy, or Cynthia Hendy, his girlfriend Cynthia Hendy, she was sentenced to 36 years. And she was released in 2019, and she had only served 20 years. We didn't forget the daughter yet, okay? So, next paragraph. Ray ultimately pled guilty to the myriad of charges against him to spare his daughter a lengthy sentence. As a result of a deal with prosecutors, Jessie Ray was handed a 2.5-year sentence with 5 years probation for her role in abducting Garrett. So there you go. The daughter was just handed a 2.5-year sentence with 5 years of probation. Jessie Ray may have dodged a murder charge as well. A friend of okay, so now pay close attention to this because it gets a little confusing, okay? So now we're talking about Jessie Ray, the daughter, and this is now a separate incident, okay? Jessie Ray may have dodged a murder charge as well. A friend of Jessie's named Dennis Yancey was convicted for the 1999 strangulation death of Marie Parker. Yancey claimed that David Parker Ray took photos of Parker being assaulted and alleged that Ray and his daughter were involved in the murder. Though investigators could place Ray at the assault, it was never proven that he or Jessie Ray was responsible for Parker's death. Jessie Ray's whereabouts today are unknown. So think about what we just read. So essentially they're saying another individual was essentially convicted for the death of a lady. This individual, though, claims that he has photos of David Parker Ray and his daughter assaulting this lady and said that, hey, they were involved in the murder. The police, all they saw, though, was the photos and said, well, we can see that David was a part of the assault, but they didn't see anything that showed the daughter being part of the assault. Either way, they do prove that David did assault this murder victim, but they say that that murder victim was murdered by this other individual, Dennis Yancey. Lot to process, but think about it. I mean, you got a serial killer, you got a serial killer daughter, you already known what they were up to. This person could be telling the truth, that they had nothing to do or part of the death, but ultimately the daughter and the father were involved. I mean, especially if this father was involved with an assault that's on a supposedly a film, a picture. I mean, I really don't see why they wouldn't even further investigate that when, I mean, it's so many ties. But either way, that is a little bit more information as the daughter. And like it said, her whereabouts are unknown. Out of all this shit, I mean, think about it. Think about this. Again, we're just alleging. We're just assuming. But think about this. You may have two people. You have two people. One of their whereabouts is unknown. One of them served 20 years. So you think, okay, maybe they changed a bit. Okay, they found Jesus, whatever. But the other individual, they may have witnessed a lot of these crimes. That was her dad. And she disappears 2.5 years later. Whereabouts unknown. I mean, ultimately, you have two people that are walking free right now that Lord knows how many people they watched die or how many people they were part of in helping those people die. It's crazy and it's scary. And you know what? What's not to say that there wasn't any other people that were aware of what was going on? What's not to say that this guy, Jesse, or sorry, I always want to say Jesse because it does, you know, you can say female and male name. What's to say David Ray, the father of Jesse, didn't have any other friends that were lunatics like him that may have participated or were, you know, at least at the minimum knew of what was going on and never said anything? And are these people still living in the little town of TRC, in the little town of Elephant Butte? Are there secrets being hidden behind doors right now? All right. What I want to jump to is, so Big Up says, I just read Cindy Hendy still lives in New Mexico. People are pretty upset that she was moving near them in a school. Interesting, Big Ups. I'll look into that. Because that article we read was obviously old, the one that said she was in Montana. So obviously she could have came back. And I'm curious where the daughter could be, because I mean, if most of her ties are here in the state of New Mexico, I'm probably going to say she may have stayed in the state of New Mexico, but you know, that's just an assumption, obviously. So what I want to do is I want to jump over to another news clip. I haven't even played this one, so this will be my first time playing this with you guys. Let's see what this one has to say. See if we learn anything else new or different. Yeah, no, this is definitely going to be a different one here. I can tell you that. All right, I found it. So this is titled as a exclusive KOB4 interview with David Parker Ray. KOB is a news channel out of Albuquerque, which Albuquerque is the largest city in New Mexico. It's not our capital. Capital is Santa Fe, New Mexico. But Albuquerque is the largest city of New Mexico, hence where your news stations are going to be out of. So KOB4, this is titled Interview with David Parker Ray. Yeah, Luna, I agree. Absolutely. I mean, even the fact that Hendy was, she was sentenced to 36 years and only did 20. You know what I mean? Hey, Sunflower, good to see you back. All right, so let's go ahead and get this. This is just about a 1 or 2 minute clip. So it's probably just going to be a little snippet from the interview, but let's see what I guess this interview had to say.
More than 10 years ago, KLB Eyewitness News 4 scored an exclusive interview with David Parker Ray just a week after he was convicted on rape and kidnapping charges.
I feel raped.
On that day, Ray admitted to us he had been involved with women but denied committing any crimes.
He enjoyed it.
Has he ever tortured anyone?
No.
Did he kidnap anyone?
No.
So did Ray ever do anything against the wishes of a sex partner?
No. I get my excitement from making a woman happy. My trailer had numerous sex toys in it of different types, all different fetishes. I got pleasure out of the woman getting pleasure. I did what they wanted me to do.
David Parker Ray died in prison in 2002. KLB Eyewitness News 4 will be at Elephant Butte tomorrow as authorities search for evidence of David Parker Ray's victims. If they find anything significant, we'll of course let you know about it.
Late to mid-teens, sexually.
All right, there you go. And just the way he talks, and look at his eyes. Yeah, you can tell that is a very disturbed individual. Remember, this guy supposedly at that interview has already had over 50 victims, allegedly. Obviously, we know what he did to 2 victims, okay? And he talks just like the way he did. That is a serial killer right there. The other thing, I don't know if you noticed, the reporter, what they had mentioned was that they were going to be going to Elephant Butte the next day to join a recovery search. Or a recovery effort. That report was done, it said 11 years ago. 10, 11 years ago, that would bring us to about, what, 2013, right? So that was about the time I was telling you, the mid-2000s, the lake had gone down pretty low. So that must have been exactly what they were, referring to, was when I was telling you when that lake level got super low that time. And that, they went out to investigate because of this this serial killer, and the fact that they figured, hey, a lot of these bodies were probably tossed into the lake. So, but from what I remember, and I'll follow up with that article, I don't think they found anything. So, but I will follow up with that, and I'll get you guys some more information tomorrow when we are going to be heading ourselves to Elephant Butte Lake. As a matter of fact, I already have the address, and you can Google search it yourself if you're curious, and I'll let you guys know tomorrow exactly where we're headed to. But we're going to be going to a few spots, especially some of the spots that we've discussed in these articles. One is going to be the location or the residence of the serial killer, okay, David Parker Ray. That's going to include the residence where this essentially torture trailer was parked in front of. I'm going to take you guys a little tour around the lake. Specifically, I'm going to take you to where the Elephant Butte Island is, okay, that they were referring to in the article. I'm hoping that'll give you kind of an idea of what type of area or surroundings were around this individual's residence. Essentially, some of the areas where this individual could have essentially buried or dropped some of these victims or bodies at. We're going to look at some other addresses or areas of interest. There is the bar that the daughter, which is not Cindy. Golly, their name's Jessie. I'm going to call her Jessie by her short name. So the daughter, Jessie, and her friend, the one that is the other victim, okay? The one that the husband thought she went on a binge and all that. That was a local bar there in Tier C in Elephant Butte. So we're going to take a look at that location and see if that bar still exists. And you might be surprised. It's a little town. If that bar still exists, it probably has the same bar owner or the daughter or son of that bar owner that was there at that time. And they may know a little bit about this. So we're going to ask around. I'm sure I'll meet some locals down there and see if they remember this case and have anything to say. So, yeah, we'll be going down tomorrow, Tier C, Elephant Butte area. If we have time, we may go down to Berlin, which is about another hour from Tier C. That is essentially the birthing city or town of David Parker Ray. So, yeah, I'm going to be taking a look at a few things, like I said, that we discussed this evening tomorrow. So that should be pretty exciting and fun. Like I said, we're going to be doing it together as an IRL road trip or investigation, as they would say. So I think we've done pretty decent investigation for ourselves tonight. Like I said, didn't have anything too long planned. Tomorrow should be what we're going to be doing. That should be, quite a bit of some time. Depending on what happens tomorrow, we may lead into a paranormal investigation. I may stay the night at the Butte, and we may do some paranormal investigation. We'll talk about it tomorrow. But either way, do some more research tonight. If you are interested in this rabbit hole, there's a lot of other information you can find, okay? What I went over today was just stuff that I thought, gave a good brief explanation and hit a lot of different points in regard to this case, all right? Certainly, we could even see if we could pull a FOIA request on some of this materials of this case and see if that would provide any, information that we may not have read about. Just some things to consider. Not saying we're going to do that, but definitely some stuff we can talk about. But either way, I think tonight was a great way to introduce ourselves into this investigation and a great segue into tomorrow's IRL investigation. So, Sunflower says, I think a lot of us are already shoulder deep in digging on this one. Yeah, I think ever since we started talking about this individual from our first lake trip and then into the second lake trip and into supposedly a paranormal experience, whether you want to say it was or not, your choice. There's been a lot of discussion about David Parker Ray and the Toybox serial killer. So I think a lot of you, like you said, Sunflower, have done a lot of your own investigating already. So I welcome and I thank you guys. I was reading some of you guys in chat what you had to say. I appreciate everybody's opinions, facts, information they have to give. All right. We learn from each other. Right. So again, I want to say thank you all for making it out this evening. Thank you to all my mods for all your hard work tonight. I want to say thank you for all your support from all the members of the jury. I appreciate y'all being here. I appreciate y'all spamming those emojis this evening. I'm going to have a special one for you guys tomorrow. I promise. I already started working on it today. I'm just trying to get it bigger, okay, so you can see it better. But look out for that emoji mañana. I'm going to say we'll kick off tomorrow, probably mid-morning. So look out for the notification. But I'm probably going to say 12 o'clock Eastern time. We'll probably be there already at the Butte, ready to start our investigation. Maybe a little earlier. I'll let you all know. Just look out for that notification. It may come in a community post, may come in an Instagram post. I may do both. But either way, you will eventually see that notification for that IRL stream come up once I've created the title for that stream, okay? So look out for that tomorrow, but it should be a lot of fun, all right? And if you guys learn anything new tonight, please have it written down because I want to share it with me tomorrow. Shoot it to me through Instagram if you want tonight, all right? But if there's anything else that I didn't cover, anything else new that you uncovered, let's share it, okay? All right, y'all. Have a great night. Get some sleep. We've got a big day tomorrow. Keep your head on a swivel. Take a look at your 6 every once in a while. Love you guys. We'll see you mañana, all right? And as always, NJ Courts is officially, and for tonight I am, out of here. Peace, y'all. We'll see you mañana.